the Bible characters, I want to take a moment. To discuss my opinions of some of the people in the Bible, because I never really talk about my opinions of the people. I talk about like the wisdom behind the message and the knowledge. But I just thought I would talk about some people in the Bible and give my thoughts, some of my faves, some of the people I'm not necessarily going to be jumping and making extra effort to go and find in heaven. You know, just giving you guys my thoughts, because why not? I'm in the mood to, you know, share it with you and just get it off my chest as well, because I have a lot of thoughts about people in the Bible. So I was just talking about Adam and Eve. This is what got me into it. I was talking about Adam and Eve, and I'm not going to talk about them. You know why? Because I have way too much to say about Adam and Eve. So we're just going to go ahead and skip on to some of the other Bible characters. Let's start with my favorite disciple, Luke. Luke is my guy. Luke, for me, who reminds me, actually, now that I think about it, this is crazy that I've just realized that in this video, after I've just gone on and on and on and on about my university lecturers in the previous video. He reminds me like I imagine my university lecturers. Like, he reminds me of them. Like, he is just so intelligent. He's a physician. So Luke is a physician. And I see Luke as a disciple as kind of like the like older one. Like, they're kind of just like note-taking everything like a scientist would, writing out all the important details that we want to know. Like, in his gospel, he reveals who Jesus saw on the mountain, who are the two people, because he knows that it's important information. So you have to read Luke to figure that out. And also he wrote the book of Acts. Like, he was with Paul. He's very like mature, you know, a very mature man. Luke was very mature. Whereas you have the likes of Peter and John, who are like fighting to like who's going to be the first one to get to Jesus's tomb, because I believe it's in John. Is it in John? It must be in John, where he actually specifically says, and I beat Peter like to get to the tomb where Jesus was, which is just so funny that they were like real life just acting like a bunch of idiots, like such the like typical thing you'd expect from like, it's like a very Sanji and Zoro from One Piece kind of moment. Oh my gosh, yeah. So much like that. But yeah, so gotta love the Bible characters. Luke is my fave. I think he was there. And then there was like what's his name, bless his heart, Mark was just happy to be here. I think he's like the young dude that's like, whoa, I've lucked out somehow. That's like how I feel, honestly. Like, I don't know how I gotta be here, but I'm here and I'm just happy to be here. I don't know what else to tell y'all. And then we have my favorite. Sorry, I had to keep changing things in the background. And then we have my favorite woman of the Bible. I think I can say this now because I feel like that's a big, huge statement to be making. And there's a lot of great women in the Bible and a lot of reasons why you might choose this person, choose that person. But I'm going to tell you guys who's my favorite. My favorite woman of the Bible, Esther. Esther is my favorite woman of the Bible. She is everything that you should want to be as a woman. I truly believe it. She is just stunning. Like, her personality is just beautiful. She's just a gorgeous person. You know what I'm saying? Like, she comes into the story. She comes into the Bible, right? She's a descendant of David. Praise Jesus, right? She's a descendant of David. She is an orphan who lives with her uncle, who is a scribe, Uncle Mordecai, right? Who looks after her, happens to be a scribe for the king. We used to have scribes. Isn't that interesting, guys? We used to write stuff and we used to be writing things. So she comes into this situation because the king's wife, Queen Vashti, you know, the king, I love the king, by the way. He is another one of my favorite Bible characters. King, there's Xerxes, there's Ahasuerus, there's all these different names. Whatever his name is, I love him. I love him. He's very generous. He was king of like a good quarter of the world, by the way. A good quarter of the world or whatever. So he had a huge empire. Now, this guy was very generous. Like, he would always, when they'd have celebrations, he would do things like lowering, I'm going to say like modern day equivalents, like lowering the taxes. He would throw these huge banquets that like everybody was involved in, and he cared about all the people. Like the whole people, like from the greatest to the least of the people, he cared about everybody. And every time he was just a very generous man. So I think he's a sweetheart. I think he's an absolute sweetheart. And he was with Queen Vashti, and Vashti obviously decided, because this is the thing with Queen Vashti, I'm like, girl, but we didn't have to do it like that, because so he was really drunk at his banquet, okay? I think he was really drunk and he was acting crazy, whatever. And he summoned her. And obviously as the king, there was all these things that like, you obey the king, like that's the king, you know what I'm saying? So you need to show up. Now she didn't want to show up because the guy was, inebriated. I think she should have just shown up. Like, you know how this is going to make it look. All the men are like depending on you to just be there so that they can like, wish that they were him. And so the king now is, she doesn't come. And then, so, because this is despicable. Like, we can't have this. We can't have the people thinking that women can say no, right? Oh my gosh, this is so funny to me. Like, I love this. I love the Bible, right? So he's like, we can't have this happening. So he has to get rid of her. And then it turns into a Cinderella type of prince looking for a princess kind of moment. And then now it's like all the girls have to be gathered and they all have to go for their year of preparation. And that you guys should watch One Night with the King on YouTube. It is the story of the book of Esther and what happens to Esther. Guys, watch it. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. There's a version without Bible scriptures included, and there's a version with. Watch either. It's so good, right? So they have to go away in this it's like this preparation, because now the king needs a wife again, and now you have to like go through due process to become the wife, right? So they do whatever they're doing. I would love to know in detail what they were doing, okay? Because that would be so fascinating to know, like, Anyway, so that happens, and then in the end he chooses Esther. And it's funny because Esther was reading him the Bible and he wasn't even a believer in God. Like, I love the Bible. So Esther's reading him scriptures and he liked the scriptures. He liked what he was hearing, and it became a thing because he'd have to rotate with different girl, would spend a night with him, and it was just a whole malarkey. Like, I don't know why men really want to juggle multiple women. Like, that sounds like a headache if I ever heard one, but hey, you do you, kings. So she's doing that. So then eventually they get to like love each other. Then they have like a good like 13-year period. And here's where it comes to why I love Esther so much, right? There's like 13 years passes, they're married and they're doing whatever they're doing. And the king's second in command, he's one of the people. Now, I want to just clarify something, I'll come back to that because I don't want to lose your thought track of the story. So the king's second in command, just like, Satan, he's a snake as well, basically. So he has done something in the past that was going to affect the king negatively. And then now, because the Jewish people, the people that believed in God, refused to bow to him, and they have no reason to bow to him because he's not even the king, right? And the king's not even all up himself like that anyway. Like, the king isn't out here for adoration and validation from the nation. He's just like, I'm the king and I'm just going to do whatever I want to do with the fact that I'm a king and that's what I'm doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So his second in command had a God complex, and his second in command is all talking about like, you guys need to bow to me, and the Christians did not. So then he now wants to put this plot to kill the Jews. Esther. So Esther is with the king. Now Esther lied about her name because her name was actually Hadassah, not Esther. But she changed her name so that she would be seen as like the women of this situation. So that wasn't her actual name, because if they'd known her name was Hadassah, then they would have known that she was Jewish. So she's with the king now. She and her uncle figure everything out. The uncle's like, we're going to die. What we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Esther, you're in the king's household. What are we going to do? Like, what are we as the people of God going to do? And then she's like, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then he's all like, well, what if God put you in this place for such a time as this? And the Christian people love to quote that scripture, but I don't think they really understand the story very well because they don't act like they do. Sorry, I nearly dropped my drink. So I don't think they really know, like, the way that they think they know. So anyways, so he says that to her. Esther leads she says, people of Israel, we are fasting and praying for 3 days and 3 nights. We will not eat one thing. We will not drink one thing for 3 days and 3 nights. We are praying and we are fasting for delivery from the Lord. And then that's what they do. All the women now who are all her like subordinates, whatever you want to call them, because she's all a queen and stuff these days, right? She's been there and this is her moment. It's her moment and it's her time to show up. And she showed up. So she's leading the people in prayer and fasting. She's told Mordecai, let the man them know, let the people them know that we're going to be praying and fasting for 3 days and 3 nights. And then she does what is illegal. And she says, I'm going to approach the king, because again, you're not allowed to approach the king as a woman, as a wife, because he is the king. You obey his orders. He is the one who's telling everybody what they're supposed to be doing. So it's illegal for her to do this, but she has to do this for her people. She's like, she asked the king, I want to ask you something. I need to ask you for something. Now they're in love. These guys are mad in love, because the king is all talking about, ask me for anything. Like, she's been illegal. Yeah, she's illegally crossed over to go and speak to him. He's like, tell me whatever you want. Tell me, like, I'll give you even half my entire kingdom. Lord Jesus, why are men always like this? Like, it doesn't change. Men are like this now. Like, this kingdom you extra half, you just get it. Anyway, so the king says, yeah, whatever you want, like, I'll give you half my kingdom. She's just like, no. And then she over a space of a couple of days, she's praying, she's meeting with him, and then they have a dinner. And then there's the snake. You might as well call him snake. His name's Haman. Funny story about Haman. Let's talk about that for a second. The guy who was the snake to the king in the book of Esther operated exactly as the snake in the garden. And the reason why he was here and still wreaking havoc is the same reason why the snake is still here wreaking havoc in this world today, because the snake was never killed. And that's why the Bible says in Revelation about Jesus destroying the ancient snake, because the snake was never killed. Haman was actually a descendant of the people who were from the promised land. So when the people of God came to the promised land, right? So they've left Egypt, they've been freed, they followed the Lord, and they come and they see that this is the promised land. There were people, there were giants, there were things in the promised land that were thriving. And God was like, yeah, you need to take everything and everyone and everything out completely. Why? Because if anything remains, if you do not take out the entirety of this your opponent is going to regrow again and show its head again. Haman was a descendant of the people that were in the land that the Israelites took. So I'm just like, hold up. Like, seriously. Haman is at the table, and the king, and Esther. We've been praying, we've been fasting, and we're ready. And Esther calls it all out in front of both of them. And she's talking about, listen, my people have a decree. Because the thing is, because the king was the king, he gave his signet ring to Haman. So Haman was just writing out these laws because he just could. So that's how he was able to put this law that all the Jews were going to be killed on a certain date and whatnot. Because the king, again, he's just too nice for his own good, bless his soul. But we love him. Like I said, one of my favorite characters of the Bible. So Esther calls it out, and the king actually believes her. Like, she had so much courage to, first of all, have disobeyed. Second of all, to have called out his king's second in command and be like, bro, this guy's not for you. Yeah. So the king gave her permission to put out a decree for this, that, and the other. She saved the people. They caught the snake, which was him. And it's actually deep what happened, because not only did God take out Haman, he took out all of Haman's sons. This is why I'm like, people want to ask me about why do I believe in the Lord. Tell me about the great empire of Egypt. Is that still a thing now? Because something happened when God in the Bible told us that there was Pharaoh and there was Moses and Aaron and everything. And then on the 10th plague, he killed all the firstborn sons. I wonder why he did that. I wonder if when you kill the sons or something, they don't regroup because there's no one to continue what they're doing, which is why you have to finish the whole snake, which is why God took out the sons in Egypt of Pharaoh, and why God took out the sons, or I shouldn't say God, whatever the person of God who decided to do it, the sons of Haman. Oh yeah, the sons of Haman were taken out as well. Wow, that backfired Haman. Because imagine, and this is what I'm saying when people are like, oh, the Lord, this. I'm like, bro, Haman could have realistically, bro could have actually just like not been having such a God complex and be so self-absorbed. That's all he had to do to solve the situation. Like, just don't be so self-absorbed, honestly, and we can move forward from this. Don't have to be God yourself. Literally like Satan. You don't have to be like God yourself to like elevate. Like, bro. So, and now you created your own destruction. Because had you not tested the people, you know, I love the guy that did the video. The one where it's like a graph and it's like the mess around and find out one. Love it. Mess around and find out. Like with the Lord. Like mess around and find out. Like literally find out, because you'll find out. And the thing is, you don't want to find out when it's the Lord. That's when you know you have the fear of God, when you know you ain't going to mess around, because you ain't finna find out for nothing. Okay? Because it's not just going to take you out, it's going to take out your future. He's taking out the future of your name and your lineage and all of your existence. You're done. Like, I love the Lord. He's sick. So, love me some King. Love me some Esther. Love me some Luke. I love so many people in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? I love so many people in the Bible, because the Bible is just a book about people, and it's about real life people and just like the real things like that are really be going down. You know what I'm saying? The real things that really be going down. And that's why I love the people of the Bible. Obviously, Jesus is my absolute favorite. Obviously, the Pharisees are my absolute least favorite people in the Bible. I cannot stand the Pharisees for nothing. I cannot stand the Pharisees for nothing, because they're so pompous, they're arrogant, like they're so up themselves. Like they really truly are just so far from godliness. I don't know if you've actually read the Bible before, but God, Jesus, came in humbly for a reason, because he doesn't need your validation to know that he is, because that's his name. I am. He doesn't need your validation. Like he knows that what he has on offer is so good that if you really just take it, you don't even need the flashiness of it all. It's like, you know, the rich, really rich people and how they just go out in a t-shirt and jeans and like trainers, like some Converse. Meanwhile, you're walking past a billionaire and you're paying attention. And on the other side, we've got freaking people like rappers and stuff coming out with these big, huge gold chains, this, that, and the other, trying to show off their wealth. But they're not actually that rich. Because that's why they have to keep doing all these dramas and things and this, that, and the other. Because they got to make sure the money's coming into their bank account, because they ain't even rich like that, like the way that they're making it look. And just because we too broke to know what real riches look like, we believe that that's riches, but it ain't even riches. It ain't even riches like that. Yeah, so that's like the Lord. The Lord is like the billionaire. He's the infinity-aire. He's the infinity-aire, and he's just like, I literally don't have to prove myself. Like, taste and see that the Lord is good. The opportunity is here for you. But like, so the Pharisees, can't stand them. And the way that they like questioning Jesus, I'm like, why is it that we do this thing, yeah? Body of Christ. Why do we get enjoyment out of making somebody feel bad about themselves? Like, that is the literal opposite of godliness. I don't know if people have realized that. Why do we purposely want to to point out the worst in people? Because like sometimes when I hear these Christians online today, can I be really real? Let's be real for a second. You know what I'd be thinking when they're like having all these debates about, should we, like, is this a sin? Is that a sin? I'm like, do they know that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior, for starters? Because that's the message of the gospel. That's the gospel message, the message that's going to save them. And then the Bible says that you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is the work of the Lord. You are not God. You are his hands and feet. And we have been given very clear instructions according to Jesus that what we are supposed to be doing and what we're not supposed to be doing. So I don't know why we became whoever we thought we were. Even the book of Judges in the Bible is in the Old Testament, before the coming of Christ. And it's not to say that we don't call out things, because we should talk about things and call them out. I'm saying that we're supposed to love people first. And Jesus always led with love, except when it was the Pharisees, in which case he was a bit of a savage. And I love the savage Jesus. Like, I love savage Jesus. This is my favorite. Savage Jesus is my favorite Jesus. Like, the Jesus that's my favorite, I'm not gonna lie, like, not to like disrespect anybody or anybody's like feelings here, but My favorite Jesus is like the second half of the Bible Jesus, of like Jesus the conqueror, the commander-in-chief of the Lord's army, King of kings, Lord of lords, Lion of Judah. Like, that's my Jesus. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? All of this like airy-fairy, like, listen, once we receive Jesus, yeah, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Shout out to Mary and Joseph, because I respect the two of them so incredibly highly. Because let's start with Joseph for starters. I don't know if there's a man in existence on planet Earth as we speak that would be prepared to do what Joseph did, especially in the climate of the culture they were in. Now we're all degenerate. So now a lot of degeneracy is like so normal. Back then, your wife, not even wife yet, your soon-to-be wife, your fiance, gets pregnant. She claims she didn't have sex with anyone. She claims it's the Lord that's impregnated her. He then gets a visitation from the Lord that says, by the way, I impregnated your fiance, soz in it. Yeah? And then stays with the plan, is a father to Jesus, teaches Jesus the art of carpentry. That's why Jesus was also a carpenter. Even Jesus was working, guys. Let's just remember this. And Jesus was a carpenter. I would love to have furniture from Jesus. Lord, if there is any furniture in the world from Jesus, Lord, please one day just let me have a piece of Jesus' furniture, because I would love to see the craftsmanship of Jesus. Okay. So anyway, and the wine. Jesus' wine, that better be on tap in heaven, is what I'm saying. So, yeah. Joseph, salute to you. Like, respect. Because he really was so obedient to the Lord, like, in a way that, like, that's why a lot of times when people talk about Bible characters, I'm like, do you think it's make-believe because you just realize that you would never? And it happens to be all the time with things I see in the Bible, I'm like, wow, I am not at the level where I would have done that, but, like, wow, I'm so, like, inspired, you know. That's why these people inspire me in the Bible. And then you have Mary. Can you imagine the angel of the Lord? God can't tell me my son is Jesus. I'll say no. Like, I tell you guys as it stands, I already have a plethora of anxieties about being a mother one day, right? I already have a plethora of anxieties and reasons why I think maybe I just should not have children. Oh my goodness. You're going to entrust me to carry for 9 months in my body, the Son of God. And then I'm going to grow him up and make him food and make sure that he doesn't hurt himself and doesn't run into the river because he thought it was funny at 2 years old. True stories, not my own children, but other stories. Just try to run into the dang river. I mean, maybe it's prophetic because we all need to go back to the river and get baptized again, realistically, at this stage. But, you know, so I could not marry. And she said, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Where do I say, yes, I'm ready for this. I read about this in the Bible and I know this is what's going to happen. And I am just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. And that's what's going to happen. And she did it. She did the damn thing. Mary did the damn thing. She really did that. She ate, as we would say today. I actually find this planet so funny. She ate with that. No, but for real, she did. Jacob. Oh, I love Jacob. And you would think I wouldn't, right? Because of the messiness of the Rachel and Leah sagas. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up your seats because this is a juicy one. So Jacob. Jacob and Esau, who are the sons of, is it Isaac? Yeah, Isaac. So much to say about Jacob because Jacob became Israel. What does the word Israel mean? Wrestles with God. And Jacob actually wrestled with the Lord, and that's an experience I have with God. Like, me and the Lord will be like, I'm actually wrestling with God, I'm grabbing God by the shoulders and like what are we doing here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wrestle with the Lord, and something that when it says that God renamed him to Israel, to wrestle with the Lord, I knew exactly what the Lord was saying immediately. And so Jacob, to fast forward, the early part of his life, was the second born, shouldn't have been his brother sold his birthright for a meal because his brother was a slave to his stomach. Guys, we've got to stop being slaves to our flesh. Sells him his birthright, and then him and Jacob and his mom conspire to get the blessings that Isaac was supposed to give to Esau to give to Jacob. Fast forward, Jacob becomes the father of all of Israel and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. But Lord, where did these 12 tribes come from? We've established that us as women are the ones who bring people into this world. Excuse me. Where did these 12 tribes come from? What wombs? Well, there were 4 of them. Rachel, Leah, and their individual servants, because when he saw Rachel, and Rachel was the one he wanted. Rachel was the woman he wanted, okay? And so he worked for Rachel's dad for 8 years. Yeah, crazy. Just so that he could be with Rachel. And then the dad was like, well, the thing is, I have another daughter, but she's older, so it's customary that you'd have to marry her first. Yeah, and then you're gonna have to work another like 8 years as well if you actually want to have Rachel as well, but you can have them both, like. And then Jacob's like, I bet, gets Leah married, gets Rachel. Huh. Bliss, no. Chaos, because, well. So Rachel and Leah are arguing because what happened was that it got to the point that he was enjoying Rachel and he wasn't, as the Lord put it, because the Lord intervened, and the Lord was like, sir, you married Leah and you better give Leah her marital rights. Yeah, the Lord stepped in and it was like, this is not on my watch. You wanted to be marrying all these women. This is what I'm saying. You want to be marrying all these women? Marry them, but just know I'm going to hold you accountable to the position you're putting yourself in, mister. So what are you doing with and then the girls would argue because who was getting pregnant, who wasn't. Then the Lord made Rachel barren to help Leah get some action as well. And then when they weren't able to have kids themselves, they were asking Jacob to then do the horrible thing as a man that is so horrible of having to try to impregnate the servants as well. You're like, oh my gosh, life was so hard for Jacob, right? It's so freaking hard, for Jacob. I love Jacob. I love that he's crazy. He's actually crazy. Maybe that's why I love Jacob. So Jacob's doing all of this. Yeah, he's doing all that. And then, so all the stuff goes down. You have to read it in the Bible. I believe it's in Genesis. You have to read it. It's a really good story because then this one gets pregnant with this one, and then mandrakes get involved because mandrakes, they're a plant that is supposed to help with fertility because the Lord made Rachel barren, and then he made this one barren, and then this one had these kids. So all of these 12 tribes of Israel come from these 4 women, for starters, including Joseph, who's not even one of the 12 tribes of Israel, but he's also a child of Jacob. Who was having a whale of a time, I would say. Having an absolute whale of a time doing whatever he was doing, which leads me on to another one of my favorite characters, actually. Solomon. Solomon is one of my favorite characters, first of all, because he was wise and he was the master at wisdom. That's why he wrote the books of Proverbs, he wrote Ecclesiastes and Songs of Solomon, right? Imagine, he's written the wisest book in the Bible, the one book in the Bible that everybody's like, oh my gosh, the Bible talks about having sex, which is Songs of Solomon. And Ecclesiastes, which tells us that all the things in this life are vanity. I've had 700 wives, 300 concubines. I've been rich as anything, and I'm the wealthiest and the wisest in all the land. Actually, my dad, David, kind of set me up with the ultimate inheritance of all time. All the gold, everything that I need is already here, ready. The resources are here. And the blueprints, he just said, I just need you to build the temple. Solomon was kinging it out here. King Solomon, and then he writes about how the world is vanity. These things are vanity, these things that people are searching for. Historically, people came to see Solomon to see if the stuff that I'm saying about him is real in real life history of other places around the world. People came to see Solomon. They couldn't believe their eyes. That was the wealthiest and wisest in all the land. Is this guy, King Solomon. And then he writes the books of Proverbs, the book of wisdom. I'm just like, these people are so cool. I don't know why anybody has time for the celebrities of today. The Nicki Minaj just showing up late. If you guys know, you know. Just watch all the videos. You know what I'm saying, guys? I think we know how things work here at this stage. And yeah, like, so cool. So cool. Like, I love me some Rahab as well. Rahab, she was a prostitute. She lived in the wall. I believe the wall of Jericho. She helped the people of God when they came, snuck them in, yada, yada, yada. And her family was saved and lived on with the people of Israel because of her faith in God. Despite what she was doing, despite whatever, she was there. She was the vessel of the Lord that was being used to bring people, to help the people of God in the mission that the Lord had in store. And not just saved herself, but also her family. And she's even mentioned in the book of Hebrews, which a lot of Christians like to call the Faith Hall of Fame. A lot of names are mentioned. Rahab is in there. So while we're all sitting on our high horse of self-righteousness, judging the starting positions of people in this life, and the Bible's telling us that we can use a Mary and we can use a Rahab. You know what I'm saying? And so I love these people in the Bible. Like, I love these people in the Bible. I really resonate. Joseph, I could talk about forever, because I don't think I relate to anybody in the Bible more than Joseph, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, particularly the prison stage. Yeah, so I really relate with the people in the Bible, and I just love them. Like, I just think they're so cool. I would love to read like the Bible part 2. Like, God, write another Bible. Like, for goodness sake. Like, I don't think he will. That's not going to happen, because, you know, everything has happened in the order it's happened for a reason. And it makes complete logical sense to me that there wouldn't be another Bible, because there's not a need for one, because the Bible tells us everything from all the way before to all the way to the end. So it's beginning and end, Alpha and Omega. Yeah, so those are some of my favorite people in the Bible. There's loads of them that I really do like Deborah's got a good moment in there, and, you know, the other disciples. I have real thoughts about each of the disciples as well, like on a deeper level. I could talk about that, which we won't do today. Oh, Timothy, another one I relate to, because he's a young dude, and Paul's letters to Timothy. A lot of my favorite verses are in Timothy, because Paul was basically like the big bro, telling him, like, look, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to lead the people. I know they don't respect you because you're youth. I'm not taking you seriously. But boss up. Boss up, stand up. I need to stop with that stupid phrase, because that phrase is literally, it is why I'm a winner, but it's also why I'm like so exhausted at the age of 27. Like, let's just, like, you know, not boss up and just like sit down kind of thing at the moment. So yeah, love Timothy, love me some Timothy, and just, you know, the relationship there. Interesting that Paul isn't exactly my favorite. I think it's because I just don't really relate that much to Paul as a character. You know that I really don't really relate, because I've had the Lord my whole life, and so yeah. And murdering Christians, that was probably never going to be, you know, a canon event in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was never going to be a canon event, because it's just not my story. But I love Paul for who he is. I love his letters. I love how he wrote to the people of God. I love how he demonstrates the power of God, that you can really go from doing one thing and being something else. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter whatever. The blood of Jesus washes us completely clean of everything, and it doesn't matter what it is. And that's something that I really wish the world knew, that, like, whatever is going on, like, God literally loves you as you are. Like, don't worry about the changing of this and the doing of that. Just go to the Lord. And I remember the day that my life changed with my relationship with God, is when I just said, I'm just going to literally start talking to you and engaging with you, whether I feel like I have the right to be doing this or not. That's what I decided. I'm just going to do it. And ever since I made that decision, my life has changed forever. And then, of course, over time, I am transformed by the renewing of my mind and all this stuff, and I'm living the Bible experience. Like, I read the Bible and I'm like literally reading the Bible thinking, oh my gosh, this is exactly my life. Like, this is my life to the T. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, I don't feel people realize that. That's what I'm really saying. Like, I'm really reading the Bible and seeing my life, and like things I can relate to, and people to actually be inspired by as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why do I care about what the people of this world are actually doing? And they're slaves themselves to the money, the power, the fame, to the you know, whatever they do, their knowledge, their validation from others, like whatever the heck it is. I don't want to be a slave. I want to be free. I want to be free. So I don't know. Is it because I'm American or? And on that note, if life's a game, let's play to win. I've talked so much today. My goodness.